good afternoon, good morning, whenever you are watching this. We're live now and it's an evening, so good evening. David Brindle here with Kieran Grace and Dan Club for the Shankly Gates podcast. Obviously here to talk about that horrendous defeat to Everton yesterday in the Merseyside derby at Anfield for the first time since 1999. So I suppose it's been well overdue, but at the same time it's still not great. Plenty to talk about, plenty of talking points from that game, obviously. It's a Merseyside derby. There's always going to be talking points, but plenty from yesterday's game. We'll also look ahead to Sheffield United coming up next weekend for the Reds, and we'll have a couple of discussions around a couple of other things going on in football at the moment, particularly the taking of the knee. People are discussing that at the moment and whether or not that could potentially be gone if it's not making an impact anymore with the consistent racist abuse that continues to be put across social media. So. Good evening, both gentlemen. Kieran, how are you feeling first of all after yesterday's game?
Yeah, not good, mate. I mean, there wasn't really anything positive to say about it. It was once again another disappointing, frustrating evening for the Reds. So, yeah, I mean, when's it going to end? I just don't know. I'm sitting here after all these, certainly home games, and yeah, and another day of frustration, mate.
Andy, do you echo Kieran's thoughts?
Yeah, I'm notoriously positive, as you probably come to realise, but there's not a lot to take from that game yesterday. If I'm perfectly honest, it was pretty abject from start to finish. We had decent amount of possession, I suppose, but we didn't create a lot, so there's not much to talk about in a positive sense.
Unfortunately, you are absolutely spot on, mate. Unfortunately, obviously Liverpool didn't get off to the greatest of starts. There was a goal quite early on. Obviously, Richarlison with that goal. I want to start by talking about that goal. As we say, not a great start. But Dan, for you, what went wrong in the build-up to that goal? Where did it go wrong for you? How did Everton end up scoring?
We looked like we got caught a little bit cold from the start of the game, to be honest with you. It all started from literally the kickoff with Kabak making a right pig's ear of that just long, aimless, long ball, really. And then from that moment on, we never really won a second ball or a first ball, for that matter. And obviously, the pass from Rodriguez is quality, and the finish is very good. So, yeah, there wasn't any particular moment of pinpoint, but in the first 3 or 4 minutes, whenever the goal came, we didn't really start the game. So I'd put it down to a collective poor effort, really, at the start.
Yeah. Kieran, yourself, where did it go wrong in the opening couple of minutes?
Yeah, I think Dan summed it up wonderfully there. I mean, that first long ball goes up and Kabak heads it out for a corner. I sit here immediately thinking, what's going on again? And then, yeah, we just caught cold. I don't know if we were 5 yards too high, maybe, but it just looked one wonderful ball from James into Richarlison, a great finish. But yeah, it just looked like we were static. We were, I think, maybe 5 yards too high. And it just looked so simple. I mean, it didn't look like they would. It didn't look like that difficult. It was just a simple ball, around the defender and finish. So yeah. Just didn't get out of bed. Just didn't start the game.
Yeah, I think it's a good point, Dan, you make about Kabak. Did you have something else to add there, mate? You look like you're about to add something.
I was just literally agreeing, to be honest with you, in terms of we haven't started the game, have we, at all? Well, you get away with that start, and you get 10 minutes into the game. We might go from there, but we didn't. We went 1-0 down, so you get punished, don't you?
Yeah, you do. Especially in the Merseyside derby. I think Carrick used to talk about this, and Arteta on the Everton side as well. The first thing that you do in a Merseyside derby is so important. I mean, you're told it in games growing up, obviously at amateur level. I was not fortunate enough to be good enough to make it any further than that, but your manager at that level will always tell you, first thing you do, make sure it's right. Especially in the Merseyside derby, it's important to usually see whoever gets the first tackle in has the better start of the game. That mistake from Kabak, it's rookie. It's real rookie. I mean, the wind is with the ball, I think, at that point. It's going to just go out for a goal kick. No one's going to catch it.
Yeah.
Just let it go.
It's you got to question. Sorry, Kieran. You got to question communication again now with Alisson, in my opinion, because someone's got to tell Kabak that ball's going out. And obviously, we've seen with Leicester the week before, him and Alisson had a complete breakdown. So I don't know if there's more to that in terms of maybe a language. I don't know, but That's twice in 2 weeks we've seen situations that could have been avoided,
My issue would be with Kabak and whether or not his English is up to speed. Does he understand what certain words mean? I don't know. I'm guessing. I'm completely guessing. But as you say, if Alisson, I wouldn't expect Alisson to just leave him to fight on his own when he can see it. Alisson's one of the best goalkeepers in the world, especially on his day. That certainly had an impact for me. The first goal, I think it comes from Thiago. If I'm honest, the ball comes in, Henderson wins the header. It comes down to Thiago. He's got probably 3 or 4 yard space on the corner. Instead of bringing it down, he heads it back up in the air. Wijnaldum gets stuck underneath it, doesn't know whether to go and get it or hold position, and it just comes from there. I've seen people saying that Kabak's second header is the problem, but again, he's quite limited in his situation after that when Everton win it back. What else can he do? He's not going to bring it down. The lad's probably terrified for his life playing centre half at this stage. He's not going to bring it down and try and play. He just heads it clear. So for me, I think fingers need to be pointed to Thiago there for not bringing it down. A player of his quality, just get the ball down and play it out to Trent. Trent's wide open on the right hand side. But obviously it's a good piece of play from James Rodriguez to slip Richarlison in an excellent finish. To be fair, he doesn't even look at the goal. He knows where it is. It's a fantastic finish. But I'm sure we'll talk more about Kabak a bit later on. Let's look at the second goal. I know there's a lot of stuff in between it, again, we'll cover. But the second goal, I mean, let's face facts first and foremost. It's game over at that point. Everton are going to win that game.
Yeah.
At very worst, probably draw it, but I don't think we'd have scored.
No.
It's not a penalty, though, is it, Dan?
No. No, it's not. I think, obviously, to start off with the goal, Phillips gets turned too easily. That shouldn't happen. There's people getting beat for pace left, right, and centre. But the initial, the actual incident with a penalty, no, it can't be. How can Trent Alexander-Arnold be punished for sitting down facing the wrong way? Like, a penalty's been awarded because he exists and he sat there. It's just laughable. Like, I know they've got rid of intent, but if someone runs into your head from behind, like, you can't be punished for that. It doesn't make any sense. As you said, we don't equalise. We're not getting in the game. It's done. But that is not a penalty.
Kieran, what did you make of it going to VAR? The referee literally looking at the screen for less than 5 seconds and running away again.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sick of talking it every week. I mean, first of all, it's not a penalty, but that for what? That's not why I'm angry. It's the process of VAR again. I mean, originally I'm happy he's going over to the screen, so I think, all right, he's going to have a decent look at this, But no, it was like you said, it was literally 3 seconds in, and then straight away a penalty. I mean, I don't care if that was the most stone wall of penalties you've ever seen. You at least take 2 or 3 looks at it to make sure. You don't have one quick look at it and then go, yeah, that's a pen. So, I mean, weirdly enough, if he's given the pen, I mean, Calvert-Lewin's going to tap that in anyway. There's a strong argument there that that's a red card. I know there's the double jeopardy and all that, but there is he didn't even book him. He just gave a penalty and nothing else. So on that level, it's even more incompetent. But yeah, I mean, as you say, it's irrelevant in the game because we're going to lose the game anyway. So that's seeing a lot of stuff on social media saying that's the reason. It's not. It's a load of rubbish. The game was lost before then, but no, again, I'm sick of going on about VAR, to be honest. But yeah, poor decision, poor implementation of VAR. Yeah.
There's obviously a lot of questions around that situation. And again, we say Everton were going to win that game regardless of that decision, in my opinion, and a lot of people's opinions. But you can still look at that decision and say, well, what's going on? I think everything about it is wrong. I like the way you described it, Dan. Trent gives a penalty away for just existing. He's done nothing wrong. He hasn't fouled him. He happens to be there. You can't penalise someone for that. And then the incident where he runs over and doesn't even look at it. I've looked at a Rustler burger in a microwave for longer than that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, there was nothing. There was just nothing there. That infuriated me a little bit. But again, if you're in a game in a situation where that could matter and that could be the tipping point, let's say it was 1-1 and that penalty gets given, that's going to cause uproar.
Yeah.
They're the standards of refs we've got to deal with, though.
Unfortunately, yeah.
It's terrible. Like I say, I've spoken with a few people today. One of whom's a ref, and he's an Everton fan as well. He's saying laws of the game. It doesn't matter about intent. If he's not there, he scores, and all that palaver. But like common sense and context and knowing football should prevail, and you should look at that and go, "Oh, he just happens to be sat there, and someone's ran into him. Like, what do you want him to do? You know what I mean? He can't go invisible. Like, it's just laughable, in my opinion."
I think you're right, Dan. I think you're right. It's a mad decision, and again, I think in a sense we're fortunate it didn't really matter that much, because can you imagine it? I think that was another question I was going to ask you before we move on to the rest of the game. I don't know whether it's the whole lockdown situation or the fact that there's no fans or what, but is it just me, or did it not feel as bad as you'd expect to lose a derby? Like, for example, I remember being there when Dan Gosling scored in the FA Cup. Obviously, let's face it, we haven't had a lot of derby defeats against Everton in the last 10 years, so I'm going back a bit, but that was heartbreaking that day when he scored that goal. And yesterday, I was just kind of like, who's on next? It didn't really feel that bad. Is it just me, or I don't know, am I being weird?
I personally think no fans is a massive part of that. I think had there have been fans there, and any one of us there, it would have felt a hell of a lot worse. I remember like Jagielka equalised and that sort of thing, and that felt worse. Yeah. I think it's a mixture of our poor form generally. I think a bit of acceptance in terms of where we are with the squad and what have you right now. But I do think no fans is a huge part of that, because it just feels different. The whole thing feels different at the minute. I think there's no getting around that. I think that was a big factor in it.
Yeah, Kieran, are you on board with that?
I am, yeah. I mean, to be honest, the way we were playing, I accepted the defeat probably just into the second half. Just the way it was going, I had at least 45 minutes there to prepare myself for what was going to happen. So yeah, that's how it's downbeat. But literally, I spoke about it in the week. The home form. Once we go a goal down, we don't look like we're. Soon as we can see the goal, all the heads drop. And I've seen nothing at all recently. As soon as we concede, like last season, how many times did we come back from a goal down, or how many times did we leave it late and fight till the end? That's just not there anymore. So
I think, yeah. So
go on,
I
Dan.
think when we lose Henderson as well midway through the first half, it's just like that for me was another big kick in the teeth, and it's just like at that point it becomes a little bit laughable in terms of we're going to touch on the injuries in a minute, but it's like what else can go wrong this season? Like, and you lose your captain and one of your makeshift centre halves halfway through. It's like at that point I just kind of felt resigned to the season, as not just the derby, the season in many ways. I just thought it's just not our year. It's just not meant to be at all this time round.
Yeah, I mean, it is unprecedented, the amount of injuries we've had, and we will come to that. That's our hot topic today. Is it all down to injuries, or is there more to it? But we will come to that. Let's talk a bit more about the Henderson injury. Obviously, we've had a fair bit of experience of important players getting injured this season, but I mean, it's vital, isn't it, Kieran, that he's back as soon as possible?
Yeah, I'm 100%, mate. He's been one of our best players this season. Best, it's in a position which he's never played before. I mean, but he's so integral to that team. I mean, when he went off, I look at the rest of that team. There's not a single leader on that pitch. Not a single person who's going to be vocal and gee the team up. And you could tell that the one reason that I had proof of that was the start of that set, just before the start of the second half. Jurgen Klopp comes on the pitch and has a word with the entire 11. Now, usually that'd be Henderson's job or Milner's job to have a word. But the fact the manager's coming onto the pitch and doing it before we start the second half, tells me there's no other leaders in that team. So yeah, we need Jordan Henderson back, ASAP.
I thought that said a lot. The fact that Klopp came onto the pitch and was sort of rallying the troops, if you like, I thought that said a lot. Not just about the fact that there was no leaders on the pitch, but about what's been going on recently and how, I don't know why to use the word desperate, but maybe I have to, desperate they are to win at Anfield. and just put some form together, because honestly, it's crazy. I tweeted yesterday that I think maybe this team just likes breaking records that much that they're now going to just go on a run of losing as many consecutive home league games as they possibly can. Obviously, that's not true, but
I don't know, it might be.
I don't know, mate. I don't know. Maybe they like setting records that much and they want to be on all the record books. Be sponsored by Guinness next year. It's crazy. So hopefully, we'll keep our fingers crossed on Jordan Henderson, and a man who's gone from taking over the armband from Steven Gerrard and being, doubted. I was one of them. Didn't really think he was good enough for Liverpool. I think we all had our moments with Jordan Henderson where we thought, is he the man? He's undoubtedly the man for this football club. He's a leader. He's the captain. He's the talisman. He's fantastic. So fingers crossed for Endo. I think we've got to get into our new centre half, Ozan Kabak. He's played 3 games now, so let's have a hot take. Is he good enough for Liverpool Football Club? Dan, give me your thoughts.
I mean, you've got to say no, haven't you, right now? Based on just solely that direct question, is he good enough? You literally have to say no. You've got no choice, because we've seen whatever it is, 270 minutes now, and he hasn't been good enough. But when you break it down a little bit more and you drill into it, you'd probably say, he's 20 years old. It's his first 3 starts for Liverpool. He's playing alongside different centre-halves seemingly every half an hour. And they've been tough games in many ways. The Derby, Leicester and Leipzig. So it's not an easy start for anyone. Not only that, when you factor in the fact that Klopp doesn't like playing players too early, but he's had to throw Kabak in there. There's probably a reason behind that why Klopp does that, and he's got no choice with Kabak. So, when you circumnavigate the point of no, he's probably not good enough right now. He could be good enough, and I've got every faith that he will be. To be honest, I just think the situation we're in and he's come into, he's not showing it. Having said that, I think we have to persevere with him. I don't think we've got a choice.
We certainly haven't for the rest of the season. Maybe Ben Davies is time now for him to have a chance and running the first team. But Kieran, just on Kabak, what are your thoughts on him, mate? Obviously he's a young lad and he's only played 3 games, but based off those 3 games, is he good enough?
No, based on these 3 games from what I've seen, not really. I mean, it's sort of rabbit in the headlights at the minute. I mean, I think Dan's right. Usually, if you sign someone, Klopp would gradually involve him in the side. He'd find a perfect fixture for him to play in. But no, he's had to be thrust in there straight from the start. And no, I think you'd have to say he's not good enough. I mean, I know he's a young lad, but I also look at the team he's come from, Schalke. Their form in Germany as well. I say form, the bottom of the Bundesliga with 9 points. So I'm looking at it, he's probably used to that losing mentality, used to that negativity. And he's coming into a side with not the greatest of form, whose players are all clearly heads down with all the injuries this season. So I'm not really surprised by it. But no, you'd have to say, back to the question, no, he's not good enough. But I agree with Dan, we don't really have a lot of options, especially with Jordan Henderson going down now. So yeah, I think we're forced to stick with him.
I think this sums it up, and I did warn Callum about not comment on this stream and commenting today, but we've got to give him his moments. Obviously, Callum from the Gladys Beats podcast, who we were talking to on Thursday night, Kabak had a good game for Everton yesterday, and he did. He really did.
Yeah.
So you can have it, Cal. Yeah, I think interesting point that you make about Klopp not usually throwing people in. He's been known to do that for Fabinho and Robertson, but I think maybe it's different because Kabak's on loan and there's a looming clause of 18 million coming, in the summer, whether they want to keep him or not. So maybe he's thinking, right, throw him in. Let's see if he sinks or swims. Obviously, he's going to see more of him in training than we do. He's going to see what his attitude's like. He's going to see if it is just nerves. Is he just terrified? Has it dawned on him that he's playing for Liverpool Football Club and he's all of a sudden thought, wow, I'm not playing for Schalke anymore. And obviously, is he low on confidence? He shipped a lot of goals in Schalke. I mean, they got beat 4-0 on Sunday or yesterday.
Yeah.
We had a couple more comments from this is from a good mate of mine, Scott. Scott's an Everton fan as well, but he says can't say he's not good enough. Came into a side struggling for form with a list of growing injuries and tough games. He needs more time. If he was in there with Van Dijk, it's a different story. Let's talk about that one for a sec then. Dan, is Van Dijk an issue there? If you played with Van Dijk, is it potentially a massive improvement for him?
100%. Like I touched upon, he's played alongside probably 3 centre-halves in his 3 games. It seems to be a different one, like I said, every half, pretty much. And Van Dijk probably talks him through the game a hell of a lot more than anyone else can. We've seen it with, I think, when he played alongside Gomez and Matip and Fabinho for a short period of time previously. Van Dijk can make most centre-halves look good alongside him, to be honest. And someone so young, even though Kabak's played a decent amount of football, he is still 20. So he had Van Dijk alongside him, you're probably looking at a different player potentially. So it's definitely a good point there.
Yeah, absolutely. And Kieran, we've had another comment from another good friend of mine, Andy Olsen. Based on the 3 games, he made one mistake against Leicester and it cost a goal. Played okay against Leipzig, didn't give much away, and then was nervous in the derby yesterday. Kid is young, needs game time. Kieran, thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I mean, we don't, like we said, with the injuries, don't really have much choice. But yeah, you can't, as someone just coming in, new into the team, he's going to need game time. I mean, I think anyone does go into a new club, certainly a new league anyway. But yeah, it is disappointing to see the mistakes, but we are going to stick with him. I think that going back to the previous point, if Van Dijk's there, it does make a huge difference. I mean, I think it makes, with Henderson being there, I think it makes a difference. But again, I would say Van Dijk and Henderson, real, strong leaders in that team. Whereas if you put someone else there, I don't think they are. So it would be, really nice to have someone like a Van Dijk next to him because, you think you'd probably get away with it in the game. But yeah, I mean, for sure he is going to get game time because, we literally don't have any more options.
Yeah, as I say, I think the only option is probably Ben Davies. I know he's had a bit of an injury and whatnot, so it might be time just to throw him in. Matt Phillips looked okay. I mean, better than Kabak, probably. Kabak just, I take on the point that he's a kid and, it's very early to say, 3 games in. Based on what I've seen, I don't see Liverpool keeping hold in June. I think he's going back to Schalke. If he carries on like this, I don't know. He's probably not going to get much game time with Van Dijk. Klopp doesn't expect him back at any point this season, so that might be a big thing for him in terms of keeping a contract at Liverpool. But the way things are going, Liverpool won't pay £18 million for him. No chance. Scott and Andy, thank you very much for your comments. Callum, not so much, but it's understandable. I just want to apologise in advance because I've been joined tonight by the dog and he's currently snoring. So if you do hear any funny noises, it's not me, it's Max. He's fast asleep on the couch next to me, and I haven't got it in me to kick him out. So yeah, just ignore it. If I'm not on screen, you hear some funny noises. It is the dog. Let's talk then about our hot topic for the week, which is an interesting one for me. It's something that I've certainly had a couple of conversations about over the last couple of days. We spoke a lot of injuries. We spoke about them. At one point, we had nearly 10 players out injured. At the minute, if we got out Fabinho, Henderson, Milner, Jota, the rest. In fact, let me just get up the full amount of injuries. I think we've currently got 7. So you've got Fabinho, Jota, Matip, Gomez, Milner, Henderson, and Van Dijk. Obviously, your pretty much entire centre half room, if you like, is gone. How much of an issue in terms of the bad form has been down to injuries? Is it all down to injuries, or is there more aside from the injuries? Kieran, I'll come to you first on that one.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I think there's more to it. I mean, all right, don't get me wrong. You go through that list there, and you take the relevant players from other teams. That's going to make a massive, massive difference to any side in the world. Don't care who you are. But I still look at that team yesterday. That was a decent Liverpool team we put out. We had first choice goalkeeper, first choice fullbacks, very decent midfield, and the front 3. So to me, I mean, I've said it for a while. I do think we're tired, we're fatigued. I can clearly see that. But I just think mentally the players aren't there. I honestly think mentally the players are looking at the injuries that are in the squad and going, oh, we just can't do this. There's a mental block there of, heads down. As soon as we get certainly we go a goal down, we don't look like we're going to come back into it. So for me, the players are almost like I think a little extent using these injuries as a bit of an excuse. I mean, because for me, to me, if we're saying we're not, can we win the league because of the injuries? No, I use the injuries as an excuse for not winning the league. But I still think with that team we put out yesterday, I still this side, it's definitely good enough to be making the top four. It has to be because we were that far clear last year. I know it's a strange season. I know we've lost loads, and the team is shifting midfielders to defenders. I know that really affects the team. But we absolutely shouldn't be sat sixth in this league. For me, I just think the players are just looking at it as sort of we've got all these injuries. What do you expect? I think they can give so much more, and especially the front three. So, yeah, it just does frustrate me. Really does frustrate me, Dave.
What about you, Dan? What are your thoughts on that, mate?
I agree in terms of, the side we're putting out should be performing better than they are. Like, some of the results we picked up of late have been really poor for any Liverpool side, really, let alone one that was so good last season. The only thing I would say on it is, like, the sheer amount of injuries we've had all season, really, not just the big three that we've obviously spoke about a lot in terms of central defenders. It's players missing week in, week out in different positions. And it's kind of forced us to play the same team pretty much relentlessly. And we haven't been able to give pretty much anyone a rest. Like, since Thiago's come back in, he's been pretty much a constant in the midfield. Same with Wijnaldum for a long time now. I think we probably named that same midfield three for 3 games on the run. And that must be having an effect. Like, we've all spoke about how condensed this season is, and we have got no space to make changes. Like, obviously there's players on the bench, but there's reasons they're not getting picked, like Oxlade-Chamberlain and Shaqiri doesn't start off, stuff like that, because they're not really of a level on a consistent basis that Liverpool need. And I know you could say the ones he's picking on because the results aren't great, but yeah, I think I find it really difficult to attribute our current failings to anything outside of injury. I really do. I think, like, I'd have to put like 80-90% of it down to injuries because it's that unprecedented and that not normal. It's impossible not to. Like, we had 10 players missing from our first team the other week, and people will say it's not just the first team players, but you're allowed to make subs in football. That's like a thing, So I find it really difficult to move away from injuries personally. I do.
I mean, I completely understand that. It's unprecedented. We've lost basically every centre back we started the season with, and that's going to impact any team. But one, we had the warning signs last year. Fabinho had to play centre half at one point, and we had 4 centre backs then. So more needed to be done in the summer. They should have backed Klopp. He wanted a full centre half in the summer. They sold Lovren, which we all rejoiced at. I don't think any Liverpool fan was like, "Oh, we should have kept him." I don't think anyone thought that. But at the same time, Klopp wanted a fourth, and they said no. And the warning signs were there from the year before. He should have been allowed a fourth centre back. We wouldn't be in this situation because maybe be able to rotate more. I know the Van Dijk situation was just a freak injury, and but maybe Gomez is through overuse, maybe Matip is through overuse and overplaying. So you should eliminate as much risk as you possibly can. And secondly, Fabinho and Henderson, people were saying they're playing well at centre half, and they were. Shouldn't be getting beat at home by Burnley and Brighton. Should not be happening. But, just got bullied in them games where, well, we didn't get bullied really. We just lay down and went, go ahead, to start off 3 points because we don't do enough against. We done it a bit yesterday. I said we were on the preview show, wanted to see us be more direct like we were at Leipzig, and we fell into the same old traps of just keeping the ball really slow, really lethargic, not up to much, just taking it easy. It doesn't work for us anymore. It really doesn't work, and especially when people are taking your fullbacks out the game, which is massive for Liverpool, you're going to struggle. So for me, I do get the point that injuries are obviously a bad thing, and it's decimated our centre-half options, but there's more to it. There's much more going on. It's not all down to injuries, and I think, Kieran, you've summed it up quite well. You could argue that, yeah, okay, it'll affect your title challenge. Shouldn't be getting any worries about getting in the top four with that squad. Your full-backs are both fit, who ripped it up last season and the season before. Your front three, who've been muted as one of the top trios on the planet, they're all fit. You've got players like Thiago in centre mid. I would mention Alisson, but he's been a bit iffy recently, so I don't think that holds much
I don't know if it is, but obviously the success of last season did come from the front three and the fullbacks. Obviously, teams are going to look at that of how to stop Liverpool. Yeah. We don't play any other way. It's 4-3-3 every week. I mean,
question. My mother might be to put this to us today. At what point do we change formation? Because for me, I think we're missing a number 10. It looks like there was a couple of moments, especially yesterday or in the derby, where the ball falls just on the edge of the area and we've got no one there. We've got three central midfielders kind of doing the same job. Why don't we take the sitter, hold it out, and put it in a number? Let Thiago go and be in the number 10. Thiago, give him a free roll, just go and get him higher up the pitch and see if he changes. I don't know what you think about that, Dan.
Yes, the only thing I'd say is I think that's what Klopp wanted to do at the start of the season. I think bringing Jota and Thiago, the idea was that would happen in terms of the shift in the way we played, because teams would work out with the full-backs and the front three. Thiago was brought in to bring a different element.
But I think in pre-season, he done that a few times in pre-season as well, didn't he? Where he mixed it up into a 4-2-3-1 and shifted it a bit. Go on, carry on.
Exactly. And we've seen it with Jota when we played a bit of a 4, the front three and Jota, And I think we haven't been allowed to do it. We just haven't. And you touched upon, the centre halves being decimating our midfield as well. Like the knock-on effect, it goes under the radar. Not from Liverpool fans, but from outside when they say you've only lost centre halves. Yeah, but that's meant we've lost 2 of our best midfielders as well, and now they're injured. It's just, in my opinion, it's been brutal every step of the way. But I do think in terms of the formation, you're dead right. In terms of there should be a change. I think Klopp knew that. He just hasn't been allowed to implement it at all.
Yeah, I think it's important when you, I don't know, I'm not a football manager, but I think it's important when you're a top side and you win things that you evolve. We've seen City evolve this season and become a bit more, change up, less reliance on possession, and just Pep's just flicked a couple of things in there, playing the likes of Ferran Torres in the centre. Obviously, he's been really limited with Aguero, and De Bruyne has only just come back in the Arsenal game. But this team needs to evolve, and maybe Klopp hasn't had the chance to do that. And that's a shame. But, again, I still think, even with the players that you've got available, little tweaks like, I don't know, Curtis Jones has played on the left a few times. You could put him in a more advanced position, stick Mane or Salah up front, move Firmino into the 10. I don't know, something's got to change, I think, at this point, and it'll be interesting to see. That was a good question, to be honest with you. So let's look ahead to the next game. Fortunately, it's away from Anfield, which we can all praise Jesus, or whoever your religious culture forces you to praise. We're playing Sheffield United, bottom of the league, pretty much done and dusted, down, relegated. So this has surely got a defeat written all over it for Liverpool, hasn't it, Kieran?
I mean, look at it's hard to be positive. Take the positive. It's away from home. Yeah, I get that. I like that. But where we've really struggled is playing teams in the bottom 6. We've lost, God knows how many points against those teams. And I mean, I know Sheffield United at the bottom of the league and they've only got, I think it's 11 points. But watching some of the games, they're right in the games. I mean, to me, they're not getting many points, but that Sheffield United team, it's a team. There's the point I'm trying to make, I think Liverpool at the minute are playing sort of like 11 individuals instead of being a team. So we've got to go there, and we know what we're going to expect. It's going to be scrappy. It's going to be horrible. The weather will be awful. So that's a game where we have to scrap. to get anything from this game. I'm just not sure that this team is going to scrap like that. That's my major concern for this. I'm trying to be positive. They are bottom of the league. They've got no form at all. Their confidence is going to be even lower than ours, if you can believe that. So hope, you're just sitting here and you're just trying to hope that something clicks together. It should be 3 points for us, but I'm like that at the minute again. Which Liverpool turns up, I just don't know. So I'm just hoping it's the right one, but we have got a week off. We don't play midweek, so hopefully the players can get a bit of mental and physical rest there. But again, it's another if we are going to go for the top four, which is the aim now in the league, it's a game we simply have to win. Oh, has our host gone? Has he?
Has he gone?
Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Have you got any thoughts on that? You got any thoughts on that, mate?
Yeah, I just echo. Yeah, mate. Yeah, just echo what you said. Really, that we should be beating them. Of course, we should. Their form's horrendous. They probably won't give up. They're not. They don't seem like the bunch. They don't seem like the type to give up. Despite the fact they are relegated, let's be honest, they are gone. Like, there's no way they're surviving at this point. The only thing I will say is our away performances and form is a lot better. Why that is, I've no idea. And I hope, and I think we'll get some players back. In terms of Jota, should be close. Keita was obviously on the bench yesterday. And I think he adds a different dimension when he plays. As much as he isn't fit anywhere near enough, and we haven't seen the best of him because of that, he definitely adds something different in the midfield. So I'd like to see him get a go. And I am concerned about the lack of leadership because, without Van Dijk, obviously, without Henderson, I think Wijnaldum took the armband yesterday because he was voted as like the fourth captain, if you like, in terms of the squad, which might be all well and good in terms of the squad, but on the pitch, I'm not convinced by him being the leader of that side whatsoever. I'll be dead honest. So I think Milner potentially being back available could be important, even if that's just in the squad. But, like I say, we should be beating them, shouldn't we? It's as simple as that, really. We should go there, regardless of what's going on, and just beat them comfortably.
No, absolutely, mate. I mean, I think he's back with us now. And I would just say it's playing better away from home. I think every team in the league's playing better away from home. I think it's that one of those seasons where, I mean, you look at Everton. They can't buy a result at home, but they're now 5 wins from 6 away, and they've played some really difficult away games there. So yeah, they're obviously just teams doing better away from home. But yeah, like you say, like some Keita and that come back, just to see some fresh faces, just to be just to do something different.
Really
from just to see if you can, new ideas, new things, just to try and get a different result.
Yeah, sorry about that, lads. I don't know what happened, to be honest. My computer just decided to turn the internet off and not let me turn it back on. Scott, you are incorrect, mate. I didn't quite fall asleep with the dog, although he has live in a minute. I think he's going to be all right. So yeah, thanks for that. Thanks for that, both. I don't know where we got up to there, but I just wanted to mention that obviously Jurgen Klopp and Chris Wilder had a little bit of a dig at each other a couple of months ago over the whole substitutes issue, and Klopp made the point of well done, Chris Wilder, you've got 3 subs and 1 point, something like that. I got the feeling last season that these two were actually quite not mates, but there was a mutual respect. Wilder was obviously very complimentary about Liverpool. I think it was at the Anfield game where he said, that's how champions play. You show kids, how to play football, and that's it. So I don't really know what happened there, but they seem to have fallen out rather quickly. Dan, are you expecting any touchline antics in the weekend?
You're dead right in terms of they've definitely fallen out because there was quite a bit of back and two, wasn't there, early this season? Yeah. But they were mates, like you say, so I don't think there'll be anything untoward. Chris Wilder will probably just admit that they've gone now, won't they, I imagine. But as I touched upon with Kieran, then I think they'll fight. I don't think he's the sort of manager, and he's got the sort of group that'll just lay down and die. But I don't expect anything untoward on the touchline, to be honest. No.
Not a reminiscence of Klopp and Dyche just having a dig at each other at half time.
No.
It'd be quite interesting.
Or Klopp and Lampard.
Yeah, Sky Sports. I make a big deal out of it if it does happen. I remember Chris Wilder was training Sheffield United on Stanley Park before they played last time as well, weren't they? I don't know whether he'll be welcome to do that this time. But Kieran, what are your thoughts on this one, mate? Of Klopp and Wilder going head to head?
No, I don't think there'll be anything in it at all, really. I mean, I think after the comments that Klopp made last night, I think Wilder did just brush it aside. But I mean, neither manager's in the position they want to be. Sheffield United are down, and we're going down the table fast. So I don't think both managers are going to get involved in something like that. Really, I mean, it's benefited nobody really. I mean, no one's in a better position, either team. So no, I don't see anything going on at the weekend. I just think both managers are going to get on with the job.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting. I think there'll be cameras on them to see how they react to each other. There'll obviously be questions about that coming up in the week in the press conferences, and I'm pretty sure they'll both try and play it down. Hello, Debbie, and she says she's enjoying tonight as ever. Thanks very much for watching. The other point I wanted to make about this game is obviously Ryan Brewster. Potentially, will he play against Liverpool? And if he does, will he score? What do we think about
that? I don't think he's going to play. I mean, I bet I do. God, sorry. I do follow a little bit of Sheffield United. I mean, I mean, fancy team. I've got Ryan Brewster as my sort of throwaway striker, and he doesn't seem to get a game. Many games. He was on the bench again yesterday against Fulham in what was probably the last chance saloon of trying to get something. He got beat 1-0. I'm not sure. I don't think he even got on. So I don't know. Maybe if Wilder accepts that, obviously his team's going down, he might just shuffle the pack. I mean, I don't really know. I don't see a lot of their games, so I wouldn't surprise me if he started. I mean, it probably would sum up our season if he, hasn't scored all season, comes on, gets a winning goal or gets two. So, it wouldn't surprise me at all.
Get your money on a Ryan Brewster hat trick, then I think is the word. What are you thinking about this one, Dan?
Yeah, it terrifies me playing against former players, especially young lads that we've let go. Because obviously we held him in decent esteem when he was with the club, but something obviously isn't right. He scored a lot of goals in the Championship, didn't he, last year? And you kind of thought he'd be a part of the plans, but, to be fair to the recruitment at Liverpool, they haven't got many things wrong in terms of in or out. So Solanke, obviously, let him go eventually. And Brewster literally hasn't scored. So it does terrify me in a way, because if he scores, we'll be gutted even more so, won't we? But, other than this game, good luck to the lad, really.
Absolutely. To be fair to Ryan Brewster, you used to catch him in the away ends quite a lot. He used to follow him Liverpool around the country. So, there's a part of me that quite likes him. I hope he does have a terrible game on Sunday if he does get on. Or, if Liverpool are already 4-0 up, he can score one. But yeah. It's a shame because he was talked about as, in the same breath as Mason Greenwood at Man United. Greenwood's really kicked on, become a fantastic footballer, and an England international. Brewster, it hasn't really happened for him. I don't know which one of you made the point about him scoring. I think it was you, Dan, wasn't it, about scoring goals in the Championship. Maybe that had something to do with the fact he was playing for Steve Cooper, obviously England under-17 manager. Former Liverpool coach. He might have worked them. I don't know about whether he did, but there's a potential he might have worked them somewhere along the way there. There's also mutual common ground there that they both have been in the same place. So Chris Wilder might just not be his type of manager. And I hope that. I think
as well. Sorry, I think as well. He's gone to Sheffield United, and we've all seen the season they've had. That's not when he was at Swansea last year. They were on the brink of the playoffs, and they actually got them to the playoffs. He's gone to Sheffield United on the back of a good year last year, and it's just capitulated around him. So that can't be easy for the kid either.
Yeah, and also, I think there's a buyback clause in there. I don't know whether Liverpool would want to exercise that buyback clause at this point, but there's still a potential that they could bring him back if needs be. I don't know when it expires, but maybe going back down to the Championship with Sheffield United could be good for him in the long run. It could work out well. It's worked out well for him in the past. Maybe he just wasn't quite ready for the Premier League, and Sheffield United have got an asset there on their hands. He probably won't be on a hell of a lot of money, so he might be okay to keep around if they do go down. Obviously, teams are gonna when they go down, they're gonna move players on to lower the wage budgets. He probably won't be one of them. I don't know. Again, I'm guessing. I don't know how much he's getting paid per week, but there's a potential there. Before we wrap up, there's just a couple of things that I want to touch on. First of all, is the whole taking the knee. Obviously, it's something that's been done since football returned in June. Brentford in the last couple of weeks have stopped doing it and said that they just don't think it's having an impact. In the week, Wilfred Zaha, obviously Crystal Palace forward, has said that he doesn't think he just thinks it's something that they do now. It's not really any relevance. We keep seeing racist abuse across social media almost every weekend, every game week. Every time there's a match on, someone else seems to get abused. In your own thoughts, I'll start with you, Kieran. What do you think the future is of taking the knee? Is it over? What are your thoughts on it? Is it sad? Is it bad? Is it good? What do you reckon?
I mean, I think there's mixed emotions, really. I mean, clearly, you can quite clearly see not enough's being done. I mean, they've been taking the knee, I think, since we've come back from lockdown, isn't it? So, since last June. And I mean, we're still getting to it now. I mean, the social media abuse, the players are just sick and tired of it. I mean, I can totally understand them saying that this taking the knee is doing absolutely nothing. Because to me, I've seen no changes at all from it. So I can completely understand that side. But on the flip side, by doing this, by refusing to take the knee, you're sort of letting the racists win. In my opinion, by doing that, you're doing that because the racists are doing what they're doing. So I'm not too sure really. I can see why they're saying they don't want to take the knee because of the abuse, but whether it's the best thing or not, to me, I don't really know.
Go on, Dan.
Oh, sorry. I the difficult one, obviously, in so many ways. But I can completely understand why they're a bit not fed up of it. That's not the right terminology, but they've got to a point now whereby not a lot's changed. They've been doing it for nigh on a year, and it must seem a bit like just par for the course now. For the first, when all the George Floyd stuff happened and it was initially implemented, I think it was quite powerful, and everyone got behind it, and I fully endorsed it and all that sort of stuff. But at some point, all these things, we've seen them down the years in the Premier League. I remember them wearing different T-shirts before games and all kinds of stuff's gone on. And at some point, that doesn't mean anything at some point. And I think this has got there, if I'm honest. I think it's got to the point whereby it's just become a thing that they do before the whistle and the actual meaning behind it. Although the commentator mentions it every time, which is great. And, it should be highlighted why they're doing it. I think it's not enough, is it? They're just taking the knee now and there's nothing really else happened. And the stuff that it's all about is still going on. So I completely understand why Brentford and, Zaha have come out and said, nah, this isn't. Which I think Zaha was quite strong in his terminology. I won't quote him because I can't remember, but in terms of how he felt doing it, he felt like a bit of a gimmick almost. So that's not great. If football's turning around and saying now it looks like the opposite of what they were trying to achieve, I think they have got to a tipping point with it now. And it wouldn't surprise me. They might see out the season with it potentially, but it's really not the thing it was brought in to do. It hasn't worked, has it? So we've got to try something different.
Yeah, I'm with you both there. It has become something that they just do. I know it's difficult for us as three white lads who haven't really, I've never experienced racism. But you can only take the word of people like Wilfred Zaha, the Brentford team, who are saying, look, it's not working. And quite clearly, it's not working. I think it's very relevant what you say, Dan, that it was brought in, the whole terrible George Floyd situation. And the whole point of it for the 8 seconds was the fact that he had a knee on his neck for 8 minutes and it killed him. And, his name isn't mentioned that much anymore. And maybe that's part of the thing that it's not relevant. The knee is just, I don't know. Obviously, racism is a disgusting thing that we have to put up with in our society, and something else needs to be done now. It's obviously not working because, as I say, there's more and more people getting racially abused all the time. And okay, yeah, it might be a minority of people, of idiots that think it's a laugh, or even worse, genuinely believe that your colour of your skin means that you're better off or worse off than someone else, which is just mind-boggling. But yeah, I think something needs to change. It's obviously not doing what it's supposed to do, and as you say, bit of change, something different, a new initiative might work, hopefully. Let's end on a bit of a lighter note and a bit of a happier note, looking forward to the future. We've seen reports this week that the FA Cup and the League Cup could have somewhere around 22,000 fans in a hope that it'll sort of be like test events for the upcoming Euros, which allegedly could all be held in England. Obviously, the League Cup and FA Cup. The League Cup has moved back to May. The FA Cup takes place in May, so it's right round the corner from the Euros. What are we thinking? I'll start with you on this one, Dan. What are your thoughts on the Euros potentially having fans there, and in particular the FA Cup and League Cup games being test events?
Yeah, I think all three events, if you like, including the Euros, would be really good benchmarks and staging points, if you like, for getting fans back. If you can successfully get an amount of fans into those sort of arenas and events, because the chance the Euros, a lot of that could be in Britain as well, obviously. And if it means come the start of next season, I'd delay next season if it meant you could get, near capacity in. I would. Because we've delayed this season as it is. I'm not talking 2 months. I'm talking, a few weeks potentially. If it meant we had a normal season next year in terms of fans, I'd do it, because, although I love football, and I still do love football, and I watch pretty much every minute of the Premier League, regardless of who's playing, it's not the same. It's not what I fell in love with. If I was starting out as a football fan now and I was watching this, I wouldn't be taken by it, because often, especially with VAR, often the games are pretty stagnant, to be honest. And that's not just Liverpool, although that's very true as well. But although, like I say, I love it and fully endorsing it and engrossing it, and my job is it, it's not what I know and love right now. So, yeah, anything to get us closer to fans is a positive in my eyes, because we couldn't do another season like this, in my humble opinion. I wouldn't be game for that at all. This one season's fine, and we can get through it, and we've got to get through it. But if they said, listen, next year, no fans the whole time, I'd really struggle to buy into that.
Yeah, 100%. I'm totally with you there. There's been a massive impact, and I think it's something we didn't really touch on earlier on when we talked about what is behind Liverpool's bad form. Is it just injuries? I think the fans not being there is huge. But at the same time, Anfield's not exactly a cauldron when we play the likes of Burnley and Brighton, so I stand by what I said. They still should have beat them. Kieran, what are your thoughts, mate, on the Euros, and particularly the FA Cup and League Cup finals having fans in?
I think personally, for the FA Cup and League Cup final, it's great to have fans there. I mean, like you say, we all want to be back at the games. So, and the teams that get to the finals, the fans will be more than made up getting there. And it will be a positive step to, as Dan says, I think next season, getting fans back in stadiums. But I'm not sure, I don't know how long you can delay next season for that, because obviously you've got the World Cup the year after. So I'm not too sure about that. But, I mean, in terms of the Euros all being played here, I mean, is it just, because obviously they'll have fans in the Euros, will it just be British fans allowed in stadiums? Because obviously the number of countries qualifying, I don't know if airports will be open, if people from other countries will be flying in. Then you've got the debate of whether they've been vaccinated or not, whether they're going to be tested on arrival and all that. So, I mean, for me personally, for the domestic point of view, the FA Cup and League Cup having fans in, I think it's a great building block for the next domestic season here. I'm not overly sure about, fans from the Euros. If it's fans from this country, possibly, yeah. And then I don't know if you then get an advantage for home nations teams for this Euros, but yeah, it's got to be a positive thing, certainly. I mean, we all want to be back in those stadiums, so I think from a domestic point of view, yeah, huge positive, but not overly sure about the Euros in my opinion.
Yeah, I think it's a valid point you make. I think it's got to be just British fans that are able to go to the games. Unless someone flies in 10 days in advance, sits in a hotel for 10 days, and then I mean, I don't know. Is there gonna be? There probably will. To be fair, there'll be people out there from countries in the world who will definitely do that. To be honest, won't they? So, go on, Dan. You look like
Yeah,
you've
they
got something
would.
to say there, mate.
Yeah, so I agree with Kieran. I think this country is so cosmopolitan that we could probably just have people from this country go into their own home games. Like, Spain, we got that many Spaniards and whatever. You could probably get enough of them in there anyway. So it probably wouldn't matter if it was just from the UK soil. We've got that many nations living here now. It won't make any difference. But I completely agree. But in terms of the World Cup, that's next winter anyway, isn't it? I think.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, no, you are right. Yeah.
It's in Qatar, isn't it? So yeah, it's all a bit of a mess, regardless.
Yeah, that's a situation that is going to come up down the line again, isn't it? I mean, what are they going to do? Are they going to stop the season halfway through? Are they going to take that time off? And I don't know what they're going to do.
Yeah, I mean, I've got so much to speak about that because if the Premier League stops, does the Championship stop? Does League One stop? Because if them seasons keep going, all of a sudden you're gonna have an absolute nightmare. And I've thought about all this, and I just can't find any answers. So that's one thing I am looking forward to see how they resolve it.
There's a big decision coming at some point down the line, and I get the feeling we're probably not going to like the decision. However, I will say that I'm with you, Dan. If at that point, surely not. But if we are in a situation where stadiums still can't be filled, even, I mean, maybe limited fans, but if we can't put fans in stadiums at that point, just knock it on the head until the World Cup's over and start the season after it, because I mean, we can't go.
The problem, I think, in terms of the money and all that, they're not going to do that though, just because of the money in the game.
Unfortunately, that is the deciding factor. Go on, Dan.
You say that, and you're dead right, obviously, in terms of broadcast. But if you look at the figures coming out of football clubs now, like I know Liverpool's in particular, they're that far down on revenue. Like I think it's 500 million's been quoted today. I've seen, and so much of that comes from fans in grounds. Like that's what they're attributing it to in the main. You might get some football clubs turning around and saying, "We'll wait." You know what I mean? Because the money they're losing this season, they might not want to do it again.
That's very true. I mean, I know in terms of match day revenue, people say it's only a couple of million. Yeah, it's a couple of million 19 times, and if you're in the FA Cup and the League Cup and the Champions League, it's more. Pre-season friendlies at home, it's more. The economy misses out on people flying in for the game. Liverpool get fans from Ireland, particularly, all over the world, flying in, staying in hotels, using taxis, eating in restaurants. The cities around the world are also suffering from the economy. So, hopefully, if the vaccine is taken off to a point where people can now be free to do what they want, whether that is everyone's vaccinated, which I don't think will happen, but at least the vulnerable are vaccinated, surely then it should be back to normal, in my opinion. But you know what, lads, that's probably a debate for another day, especially the Qatar World Cup, because we could go on for another hour looking ahead to that. We might as well wait till a bit more information comes out.
Yeah.
Carry on. So, right, we'll end it there. Thank you as ever for your time. I do appreciate it, Kieran and Dan. Spot on.
Yeah, no problem, mate.
Yeah, I do enjoy our chats, even in the midst of I'd say crushing defeat, but it doesn't feel that bad. It was a defeat, but it's kind of gone now. It's over and done with. We'll let them have their day, and we'll move on. But yeah, I do appreciate your time. Thank you very much. Thank you to those who've watched and commented, both live and afterwards. We do appreciate it, and we will catch you probably next Monday night. Liverpool don't play till 7:15 next Sunday against Sheffield United, so it'll probably be Monday night next week. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you soon.